The Hole in the Ground. In the heart of rural Ireland, in a quaint and picturesque village surrounded by dense forests, a young mother named Sarah and her son Chris moved into an old farmhouse, hoping to start a new life after a difficult divorce. Little did they know, their fresh start would soon turn into a nightmare beyond their wildest imagination. As Sarah settled into their new home, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was not quite right. The locals whispered of strange happenings in the nearby woods, tales of mysterious disappearances and unexplained phenomena. But Sarah dismissed their warnings as superstitious nonsense, determined to make a better life for herself and her son. But as the days turned into weeks, strange and unsettling things began to happen. Chris, once a happy and outgoing boy, became withdrawn and sullen, his behavior growing more erratic with each passing day. One night, as Sarah tucked Chris into bed, she noticed a strange hole in the ground at the edge of their property, hidden beneath a thick layer of undergrowth. It seemed innocent enough, just a simple hole in the ground, but something about it filled her with a sense of dread. As Sarah investigated further, she discovered that the hole seemed to be growing larger. With each passing day, its gaping maw swallowing everything in its path. She tried to warn the other villagers, but they dismissed her concerns as the ramblings of a troubled woman. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah delved deeper into the mystery of the hole in the ground, uncovering dark secrets that had long been buried beneath the surface. She learned of a local legend, a tale of an ancient evil that had been imprisoned beneath the earth for centuries, waiting for its chance to escape. But as Sarah soon discovered, the evil lurking in the woods was more than just a legend. It was real, and it was hungry. As the hole in the ground grew larger, it began to exert a malevolent influence over Chris, twisting his mind and drawing him inexorably closer to its dark embrace. Sarah knew that she had to act fast if she hoped to save her son from a fate worse than death. In a heart-stopping climax, Sarah faced off against the ancient evil that lurked beneath the ground, her love for her son driving her to confront the darkness head-on. With the help of a few brave allies, she fought to close the hole and banish the evil back to the depths from whence it came. In the end, Sarah emerged victorious, her son safe in her arms once more. But as she looked out at the dense forest surrounding their home, she knew that the echoes of their ordeal would haunt them for the rest of their days. And as she walked away from the hole in the ground, she couldn't help but wonder what other horrors lay waiting in the darkness, just beyond their reach. Grabbers. In the remote fishing village of Aran Island, off the coast of Ireland, life was simple and serene until a mysterious and deadly force emerged from the depths of the ocean, threatening to destroy everything in its path. The tranquility of Aran Island was shattered one stormy night when a fishing trawler was attacked by a monstrous creature from the deep. The crew was slaughtered, their bodies torn to shreds, leaving the islanders terrified and confused. As the bodies began to pile up, the local police, Sergeant Ciaran O'Shea and Garda Lisa Nolan, were tasked with investigating the gruesome attacks. But what they discovered was beyond anything they could have imagined. The creature responsible for the attacks was a bloodthirsty alien species, drawn to Earth by the abundance of water in our oceans. Highly intelligent and virtually indestructible, these creatures were capable of wiping out all life on Earth if left unchecked. As panic swept through the island, O'Shea and Nolan realized that they were facing an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. With the help of the eccentric marine ecologist Dr. Smith, they set out to find a way to stop the creatures before it was too late. But as the attacks continued and the body count rose, they realized that they were fighting a losing battle. The creatures were relentless, their hunger for human flesh insatiable. Desperate for a solution, O'Shea and Nolan discovered that the creatures were highly allergic to alcohol. The higher the blood alcohol content, the more toxic humans became to them. With this knowledge in hand, they devised a daring plan to save the island and its inhabitants. They organized a massive drinking binge, encouraging the islanders to get drunk and stay drunk until the creatures could be destroyed. It was a risky plan, but it was their only hope of survival. As the night wore on and the alcohol flowed freely. The islanders let loose like never before, turning Aran Island into the biggest party in its history. But as the creatures closed in, the party took a deadly turn. In a heart-stopping climax, O'Shea and Nolan led the islanders in a desperate battle against the creatures. Their makeshift weapons and drunken bravado no match for the creatures' strength and ferocity. But just when all hope seemed lost, they discovered that the creatures had a weakness after all. In a stroke of luck, they realized that the creatures were vulnerable to the toxic blood of the island's resident sea creature, the Grabber. With this knowledge in hand, they set out to lure the creatures into a trap, using themselves as bait. In a final desperate showdown, O'Shea and Nolan faced off against the creatures, their courage and determination matched only by their sheer desperation. With the help of the Grabbers, they fought to save Aran Island from destruction, knowing that the fate of the world hung in the balance. As the sun rose over Aran Island, the last of the creatures lay dead, their reign of terror finally at an end. The islanders emerged victorious, their spirits buoyed by their hard-fought victory. But as they looked out at the tranquil waters surrounding their home, they knew that the echoes of their ordeal would haunt them for the rest of their days. And as they toasted their victory with a well-deserved drink, they vowed never to forget the horrors they had witnessed and the strength they had found within themselves to overcome them. The Devil's Doorway. In the summer of 1960, in the heart of rural Ireland, two Catholic priests, Father Thomas Riley and Father John Thornton, were sent by the Vatican to investigate reports of a miraculous statue of the Virgin Mary at a home for unwed mothers known as the Magdalen Laundry. Little did they know, their journey would lead them into the depths of darkness, where they would confront horrors beyond their wildest imagination. As they arrived at the Magdalen Laundry, they were met with hostility and suspicion from the Mother Superior and the staff. The young women who lived there seemed frightened and withdrawn, their eyes haunted by secrets too terrible to speak. But as Father Riley and Father Thornton began their investigation, they soon discovered that there was more to the Magdalen Laundry than met the eye. Hidden beneath its walls was a dark and sinister secret, a secret that threatened to consume them both. Their investigation led them to a hidden cellar beneath the laundry, where they discovered a room filled with the remains of dead infants, their tiny bodies discarded like trash. Shocked and horrified by what they had uncovered, Father Riley and Father Thornton knew that they had stumbled upon something unspeakably evil. But as they delved deeper into the mystery, they realized that there was something else lurking in the shadows, something far more sinister than they could have ever imagined. The young women at the Magdalen Laundry were being tormented by a malevolent force, a force that seemed to feed off their fear and despair. As Father Riley and Father Thornton struggled to uncover the truth, they found themselves facing off against a demonic entity that was determined to destroy them. With each passing day, the entity grew stronger, its hold on the young women at the Magdalen Laundry tightening with every moment. In a desperate bid for salvation, Father Riley and Father Thornton turned to the church for help, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. The Vatican was unwilling to acknowledge the existence of the demonic entity, fearing the scandal that would follow. Alone and afraid, Father Riley and Father Thornton were forced to confront the entity on their own, their faith tested to its very limits. With each encounter, they came closer to the truth, but also closer to the brink of madness. In a heart-stopping climax, Father Riley and Father Thornton faced off against the entity in a final showdown, their courage and determination matched only by their sheer desperation. With the help of a few brave allies, they fought to banish the entity back to the depths of hell, knowing that their own souls hung in the balance. As the sun rose over the Magdalen Laundry, Father Riley and Father Thornton emerged victorious, their faith stronger than ever. But as they looked out at the tranquil countryside surrounding the laundry, they knew that the echoes of their ordeal would haunt them for the rest of their days. And as they walked away from that dark and sinister place, they vowed never to forget the horrors they had witnessed and the strength they had found within themselves to overcome them. Boy Eats Girl. In the small Irish village of St. Mercy to S, life was simple and uneventful, until tragedy struck one fateful night. unleashing a chain of events that would forever change the lives of its inhabitants. Nathan, a shy and awkward teenager, harbored a secret crush on his childhood friend, Jessica. Desperate to win her affections, he made a bold move and asked her to the school dance. To his surprise and delight, Jessica agreed, and Nathan's heart soared with hope. But their night of romance quickly turned to horror when Nathan's overbearing mother, Bernie, stumbled upon them in a compromising position. Enraged and horrified by what she saw, Bernie flew into a violent rage, attacking Jessica and accidentally killing her in the process. Devastated by what he had witnessed, Nathan turned to the only person he could trust, his eccentric friend, Henry. Together they concocted a plan to bring Jessica back from the dead, using a mysterious voodoo ritual they found in an old book. But their plan went horribly wrong when Nathan accidentally used the wrong potion, transforming Jessica into a flesh-eating zombie instead. Shocked and terrified by what they had unleashed, Nathan and Henry were forced to confront the horrifying truth. The dead were rising from their graves, hungry for human flesh. As chaos descended upon St. Mercy's cess, Nathan and Henry raced against time to stop the zombie outbreak before it consumed the entire village. But their efforts were hampered by the arrival of a team of government agents, led by the ruthless Colonel Gavin. Gavin was determined to contain the outbreak at any cost, even if it meant sacrificing innocent lives in the process. With his men armed to the teeth and ready to shoot on sight, Nathan and Henry knew that they were fighting a losing battle. But just when all hope seemed lost, Nathan discovered a shocking secret about his own family's past. A secret that held the key to stopping the zombie outbreak once and for all. With the help of his estranged father, who turned out to be a former voodoo priest, Nathan embarked on a daring mission to confront the source of the outbreak and put an end to it once and for all. In a heart-stopping climax, Nathan and his father faced off against the zombified Jessica and her army of the undead in a final showdown that would determine the fate of St. Mercy. With the village on the brink of destruction and the lives of everyone he loved hanging in the balance, Nathan fought with everything he had, determined to save his friends and family from a fate worse than death. As the sun rose over St. Mercy, Nathan emerged victorious, his courage and determination saving the village from destruction. But as he looked out at the smoldering ruins of his home, he knew that the echoes of the horror he had witnessed would haunt him for the rest of his days. And as he walked away from the ashes of his former life, he vowed never to forget the lessons he had learned and the strength he had found within himself to overcome them. The Lodgers. In the mist-shrouded countryside of 1920s Ireland, the decaying Kilsmore Manor stood as a silent sentinel, its darkened halls holding a sinister secret that would soon be unearthed. Rachel and Edward, orphan twins, were the last descendants of the cursed Lodger family, bound by an ancient pact that demanded they abide by 3 rules: never leave the estate, never let strangers enter, and always be in bed by midnight. These rules, enforced by the malevolent spirits known as the Lodgers, haunted the twins' every move. Haunted by the tragic deaths of their parents and the oppressive presence of the Lodgers, Rachel and Edward lived a life of isolation and fear within the crumbling walls of Kilsmore Manor. But as they approached their 18th birthday, the secrets of their family's dark past began to unravel. Rachel, longing to break free from the shackles of the past, dreamed of a life beyond the confines of Kilsmore Manor. But Edward, consumed by fear and superstition, refused to leave, terrified of the consequences of disobeying the Lodgers. Their delicate balance was shattered when Sean, a dashing World War I veteran, returned to the village, stirring long-buried desires within Rachel's heart. Despite Edward's protests, Rachel struck up a forbidden romance with Sean, risking the wrath of the Lodgers and the curse that had plagued their family for generations. As Rachel and Sean's relationship deepened, strange and terrifying events began to unfold within the walls of Kilsmore Manor. The spirits of the Lodgers grew restless. Their presence felt more strongly than ever before. Shadows lurked in every corner, and whispers echoed through the halls, threatening to drive Rachel and Edward to madness. Desperate to break free from the curse that bound them, Rachel delved into the dark history of the Lodger family, uncovering secrets that had long been buried beneath the surface. She learned of a tragic love affair that had ended in betrayal and murder, and of a vengeful spirit that would stop at nothing to claim their souls. With the help of Sean and a local priest, Rachel embarked on a dangerous quest to break the curse once and for all. But as they delved deeper into the mysteries of Kilsmore Manor, they realized that the curse was more powerful than they could have ever imagined. In a heart-stopping climax, Rachel and Sean confronted the vengeful spirit of the Lodger family, their courage and determination put to the ultimate test. With the fate of their souls hanging in the balance, they fought to break free from the curse that had plagued their family for generations. As the first light of dawn broke over Kilsmore Manor, Rachel and Sean emerged victorious, their love conquering the darkness that had threatened to consume them. But as they looked out at the mist-shrouded countryside, they knew that the echoes of their ordeal would haunt them for the rest of their days. And as they walked away from the decaying ruins of Kilsmore Manor, they vowed never to forget the horrors they had witnessed and the strength they had found within themselves to overcome them. The midnight delivery. It was a cold, stormy night, and I was working the late shift at Freddy's Pizza, a small pizzeria tucked away in the heart of the city. The phone rang, shattering the silence of the empty restaurant. I glanced at the clock. 11:55 p.m. Who could be ordering pizza at this hour? Reluctantly, I picked up the phone. Freddy's Pizza. How can I help you? A low, raspy voice answered on the other end. I'd like to place an order for delivery. I checked the address. It was on the outskirts of town, a secluded area surrounded by dense forest. I hesitated for a moment, but the promise of a hefty tip convinced me to take the order. As I drove through the dark, winding roads, the storm grew fiercer, the rain pounding against the windshield. Lightning flashed, illuminating the forest in brief, eerie bursts. I shivered, a sense of unease settling in the pit of my stomach. Finally, I arrived at the address. It was an old, dilapidated house, its windows boarded up and its paint peeling. I hesitated, wondering if I should turn back, but the promise of a tip urged me forward. I knocked on the door, and after what felt like an eternity, it creaked open. Standing in the doorway was a tall, gaunt man, his eyes sunken and his skin pallid. He gestured for me to come in, and against my better judgment, I stepped inside. The inside of the house was even more unsettling than the outside. The air was thick with dust, and the only sound was the ticking of a clock somewhere in the darkness. I handed the man his pizza, eager to leave as quickly as possible. But as he reached for his wallet, his hand brushed against mine, and I recoiled in horror. His skin was ice cold to the touch, and his grip was unnaturally strong. I tried to back away, but he grabbed me by the arm, his eyes burning with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "You can't leave," he whispered, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not until you've heard my story." With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that I was trapped. There was something about the man's presence, something dark and malevolent, that told me I was in grave danger. Reluctantly, I listened as he began to speak, his voice a low, haunting whisper that seemed to echo through the empty house. He told me of a curse that had been placed on the house centuries ago, a curse that condemned its inhabitants to an eternity of suffering and torment. He spoke of a pizza delivery boy who had come to the house on a stormy night much like this one, and had never been seen again. As he spoke, I felt a chill run down my spine. I knew then that I was in the presence of something not of this world, something ancient and evil that hungered for my soul. Desperate to escape, I tried to run, but the man's grip was like iron. He dragged me into the darkness, his laughter echoing in my ears as I descended into madness. And as the storm raged on outside, I knew that I would never be seen again, another victim of the curse that haunted the house on the hill.